You're somebody who has said unequivocally that the best situation for kids in our district in Detroit is for them to be in school all the time. Of course, we can't necessarily mandate that at this point, but tell me how close you think we're going to be able to get, even as we see this recent surge in COVID-19 cases.
I think most of us would agree the best situation for our students in Detroit is in person. There's just a relationship connection there that can build into trust, reteaching, small group instruction, because a lot of our students are below where they should be. But obviously, anytime the infection rates are too high, then we have to suspend it. And I think, over the last year and a half, we've done that. So we've been about equity and equity of access, meaning if private schools are open and suburban school districts are open, so should we. But being very cautious and listening to medical experts when the infection rates are too high, and not moving forward with in-person learning. But I'm very excited about the fall. I am worried about the rising infection rates. They're not as high in the city, in Michigan as they are, let's say, in the South right now. But at the same time, I'm excited and optimistic for a couple reasons. One, our teachers are back across the district. So every school, every classroom, every subject area, our teachers will be back in person. That was an agreement that we made with the Detroit Federation of Teachers. I'm also excited because we have additional funding. And so for the first time, in over 20 years, as a, teacher, principal, chief academic officer, superintendent, always in large urban school districts, I feel like for at least 2 years, we have equitable amount of resources to address some of the wraparound challenges that we have with our students and families. So we're going to be able to go much deeper with mental health support in the fall with tier 2, tier 3 intervention. That means small group one-on-one. We're going to have a nurse at every one of our buildings. Every teacher vacancy is filled, and we've hired over 100 more teachers to reduce class size. We're going to be able to offer after-school programming in every school this fall and for the next 2 years. We're adding vans, district vans, to pick up students if they missed the initial bus. So, this year for us is a year of recovery. We have to make up on learning loss. We got to get kids back in learning in the regular process. And so that's our focus. But I feel like we can do this now in a much harder space and time, but with the resources to actually do that. The last reason why I'm optimistic and excited is that our families are ready to send their children back. Right now our polling looks at 80 to 95% of parents are ready to send their children back to school. Wow. I think our number or our percentage of students that want virtual school will always be higher than suburban districts and rural districts. And we have a separate virtual school for that. And, from a COVID perspective, we're always going to be more conservative, if you will, about the safety strategies. And we've always been aligned to the CDC, always been aligned to state guidelines. So all of our students, employees, vaccinated or not, will wear masks. We're going to do the deep cleaning, 3 feet of social distance. And I think the big difference in DPSCD will be testing. All of our employees, all of our students will test, vaccinated or not. So, we can identify asymptomatic cases. We can identify outbreaks that have not been identified. And we can talk about an infection rate beyond the city rate or even the county rate, the state rate, based on actual infection rates at individual schools and districts.
You've been able to fill all the vacancies in our schools. I mean, I've been around Detroit for 4 decades, 5 decades now. That has always been one of our big sort of speed bumps, is the idea that we can't attract enough teachers to get the ratios we want in classrooms and make sure that we're fully staffed. Talk about the difference that you think that makes.
I've said it countless times. If we don't have a certified teacher in a classroom, we can't even talk about getting to high quality. You can have a great person who cares about the kids, a long-term sub, someone with a degree. They need to be certified. They need to be trained. and then we can start building capacity. But you can't even get off the finish line if you're not at that point. And you know, I remember when I started as superintendent, and I started to talk at that point with the HR team, and the conversation was, we'll never be fully staffed in Detroit. You know, right when you told me that, I realized, you know, wrong approach, wrong expectations. We got to move in a different direction with just how you think about your job. So, you know, part of the work was honestly revamping HR with people that believed that we should and had to be fully staffed. But then it was, you know, pay matters. And, you know, we can talk about climate and culture and support, and all of that does play a role. But ultimately, it is about paying people, you know, a competitive wage. So we've gone from, you know, about 38,000 to 51,000 for beginning teacher salaries. And it wasn't only beginning teachers, but this is what it was. We were able to recruit from Detroit charter schools and from suburban school districts, many of those teachers who grew up in Detroit and left. That was a major difference. And we've been able to retain our veteran teachers. You know, I think it's one, recruiting, it's pay. And then once we get them in, I do think people feel more supported when they get to their school with stronger principals, more principal training. And, you know, I'm also excited that we're building our own bench. And so we're taking academic interventionists, para-educators, people that have 4-year degrees that aren't certified, using master teachers that have been in the system to train them in the classroom. So we're actually thinking ahead also in building a bench so this can be sustainable, as we know our most veteran teachers will probably start to retire in the next 3 to 4 years. So we'll be well positioned to actually build our own people that know our kids, been in the classroom, know the challenges and the opportunities. And it's a very diverse group. And I'm excited about that. Where, you know, by memory, I think 90% of the candidates that we're building to become teachers are of color. And there are many Black men in that cohort as well. And that's the other part of being intentional about, you know, matching the needs of our students with our teachers.
I want to ask you about the money coming from the federal government, an unprecedented amount of money, both to the city and to the school district, and what you want to do with that money and what difference you think that's going to make for our kids.
This is how we're going to expand mental health support throughout the district. We expanded summer school this past summer and the upcoming summer. We're hiring teachers in surplus. So we're fully staffed on the teacher side of staffing, but we're hiring more teachers to reduce class size, to maintain social distancing, and to anticipate the retirements that are going to come in the next couple of years. We're using the money for home visits, which has been very successful. In addition to that, we're going to be able to continue to go one-to-one with our laptops, internet access. Probably one of the greatest long-standing issues we have in DPSCD is our facilities. So about 600 to 800 million of that 1.2 billion that we're going to receive is going to attack our facility issue. Now with this funding, we don't have to go to taxpayers, we don't have to raise taxes, and we can put a major dent in our facility. So by January, we'll have a 20-year facility plan, which will be like a blueprint set of recommendations on how to deal with buildings like Pershing, Osborne, and Cody that need substantial work, but, you know, which the size of the school is not needed, the number of seats. So we're going to engage a community by feeder pattern. Should we renovate? Should we build new buildings? Do we consolidate? And the whole conversation is not how we take away, but how do we give back something better, and not to replicate what I call the sins of emergency management in the past. Truly engage people, know that there is a finite amount of money, but how do we best use it? And then take that back to the school board and then create a 20-year facility plan and start making major investments in our facility. So we get to a point where all of our schools have air conditioning, you know, reliable HVAC systems, roofs, masonry work, fencing around parking lots, upgraded IT. But it's going to take us, you know, about 2 to 5 years to get to that full implementation. But by the end of this school year, we will have a 20-year facility plan with funding connected to it.